Folks, we got top members of the Trump administration and Defense Department officials just chuckling it up in a damn group chat where they were coordinating military strikes on the Houthis in Yemen, completely unaware that they had accidentally added a journalist from The Atlantic to the group chat before, just speaking openly about minimizing risk to Saudi oil facilities, calling Europe a freeloader, and of course finding a way to make them and other nations compensate the United States. It's a very strange thing that happened, and something that clearly should not have happened.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, big national security oopsie. The journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg, was still uncertain whether or not he was in a legitimate group chat. He cross-checked social media when the attacks were scheduled to take place and confirmed that the texts were legitimate, and then watched as the group celebrated the strike with emojis and congratulations all around. Throughout the entire article, which of course is always linked below, he second guesses himself whether or not he's being played by some foreign adversary or witnessing an AI who has analyzed their speaking patterns. Is
this a goof?
And he was right to be worried about that.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that this is how they do things.
Yeah, it's shocking stuff from all angles, but most specifically from obviously a national security viewpoint, the fact that no one, not Department of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, or Vice President J.D. Vance, among others, noticed that a journalist was in the group chat while they were discussing military strategy. It is just outrageously stupid and careless.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
Yeah.
So it's obviously pretty rich coming from an administration led by the guy who has complained about Hillary Clinton's emails for the better part of a decade.
Acid washed the emails.
I mean, at this point, literally a decade.
Yeah.
It certainly isn't the first time that the Trump administration or its officials have inadvertently leaked sensitive information or mishandled classified documents.
It's kind of their thing at this point.
But this is still pretty bad.
Yeah.
But let's jump into the story because, like we said, they invited arguably the worst possible person into their war chat by mistake.
A pesky journalist.
A journalist, and not one of the good ones. One of the ones that doesn't like Donald Trump.
We accidentally invited Ben Shapiro to the war chat. You'll never guess what happened next.
But it wasn't Ben Shapiro.
No.
It was Jeffrey Goldberg.
Yeah.
The full article is always linked below, but here are some of the more outrageous moments from Jeffrey Goldberg's article for The Atlantic titled, "The Trump Administration Accidentally Texted Me Its War Plans." The world found out shortly before 2 p.m. Eastern Time on March 15th that the United States was bombing Houthi targets across Yemen. I, however, knew 2 hours before the first bombs exploded that the attack might be coming. The reason I knew this is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, had texted me the war plan at 11:44 a.m. The plan included precise information about weapons packages, targets, and timing.
Seems like information you wouldn't want to discuss on a group chat with multiple people having the app, although encrypted, on their phones, where if any of those people's phones were compromised, they could see all this group chat stuff, but also to not even check the guest list. That is basic. You can't even get into a club without an ID.
They were excited about doing war.
Yeah. They're amped up.
They were half-mast already.
Yeah.
They were almost rock hard.
So the author goes into details about how he ended up in this chat in the first place. On Tuesday, March 11th, I received a connection request on Signal from a user identified as Michael Waltz. I assumed that the Michael Waltz in question was President Donald Trump's national security advisor. I did not assume, however, that the request was from the actual Michael Waltz. I accepted the connection request, hoping that this was the actual national security advisor and that he wanted to chat about Ukraine or Iran or some other important matter. 2 days later, Thursday at 4:28 p.m., I received a notice that I was to be included in a Signal chat group. It was called the Houthi PC Small Group. A message to the group from Michael Waltz read as follows. Team, establishing a principals group for coordination on Houthis, particularly for over the next 72 hours. The term Principals Committee generally refers to a group of the senior-most national security officials, including the Secretaries of Defense, State, and the Treasury, as well as the Director of the CIA. It should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that I have never been invited to a White House Principals Committee meeting, and that in my many years of reporting on national security matters, I had never heard of one being convened over a commercial messaging app. They have skiffs for this reason. They have separate rooms that are actually built to have these conversations. They can go use whenever they want.
Yeah, it's also another reason you wouldn't do this on Signal is that it seems to be circumventing the various FOIA and presidential records.
Oh, yeah, no, we get to that because there was another issue that this journalist luckily pointed out was that Mike Waltz, he had the messages timed to delete after a certain amount of time, and that is breaking the law, asshole.
Yeah, when you're running the country, there are certain records that you need to keep.
Yeah.
So the original chat apparently included damn near everyone that we've been talking about in the Trump administration in recent weeks. You got Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, Stephen Miller, Scott Bessent, and more. All the stars are here,
Yeah.
including high-ranking members of staff that each of them recommended to take part in the chain about military strikes. The author talks about how he thought he was being played by some foreign power attempting a disinformation campaign, mainly because he couldn't believe that top U.S. officials were actually using a group chat for imminent war plans.
Yeah.
He speaks about conversations that J.D. Vance had in the group where he acknowledges that Trump might have some inconsistent messaging when it comes to military action that could benefit Europe. Then it turns into a back and forth planning session between the people involved. Here you go.
Vice President J.D. Vance. I am not sure the president is aware of how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. I am willing to support the consensus of the team and keep these concerns to myself. But there is a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why this matters, seeing where the economy is, etc.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. VP, I understand your concerns and fully support you raising with POTUS. Important considerations, most of which are tough to know how they play out. Economy, Ukraine peace, Gaza, etc. I think messaging is going to be tough no matter what. Nobody knows who the Houthis are, which is why we would need to stay focused on 1, Biden failed, and 2, Iran funded. Waiting a few weeks or a month does not fundamentally change the calculus. 2 immediate risks on waiting. 1, this leaks, and we look indecisive. 2, Israel takes an action first, or Gaza ceasefire falls apart, and we don't get to start this on our own terms. We can manage both. We are prepared to execute, and if I had final go or no-go vote, I believe we should. This is not about the Houthis. I see it as 2 things. 1, restoring freedom of navigation, a core national interest, and 2, reestablish deterrence, which Biden cratered. But we can easily pause, and if we do, I will do all we can to enforce 100% OPSEC, Operation Security. I welcome other thoughts.
Oh, good job on the security so far,
I got
Mr.
the
Hegseth.
OPSEC locked in, boys.
Yeah, you can trust me. This will never get out.
Pete Hegseth really likes listing 2 things.
Yeah, why would you ever need a third? That's too many
He
things.
listed 2 things 3 separate times in just that message.
Yeah. I got 3 words for you. Suck it.
Yeah.
National Security Advisor Michael Waltz said, whether it's now or several weeks from now, it will have to be the United States that reopens these shipping lanes. Per the president's request, we are working with DoD and state to determine how to compile the costs associated and levy them onto the Europeans.
That guy's also apparently Scott Stapp's brother-in-law.
Cool. I'm sure that Scott Stapp can share some stories about back of the bus shenanigans with Kid Rock back in the day.
Yeah.
How they filmed it all and
Yeah.
how much fun they had.
Yeah.
They could talk about it in a group chat maybe.
They could.
On Signal. Here's Vance again. If you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again.
Please, can we do it? Can we bomb the Houthis? Please.
Hey, Europe, you didn't say thank you.
Hegseth again says, VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. But Mike is correct. We are the only ones on the planet, on our side of the ledger, who can do this. Okay, so the journalist is reading these texts, and he's working in this space. He knows that these texts match their style of communication and so forth, but he's also unsure if, I don't know, maybe it's just some clever AI trying to make a fool of journalists.
He's right to have that worry, yeah.
Adding, but if it was a hoax, the quality of mimicry and the level of foreign policy insight were impressive. And the next chat logs are redacted a bit because they contain sensitive information about American military operations. At 11:44 a.m., the account labeled Pete Hegseth posted in Signal a team update. I will not quote from this update or from certain other subsequent texts. The information contained in them, if they had been read by an adversary of the United States, could conceivably have been used to harm American military and intelligence personnel, particularly in the broader Middle East Central Command's area of responsibility. What I will say, in order to illustrate the shocking recklessness of this signal conversation, is that the Hegseth post contained operational details of forthcoming strikes on Yemen, including information about targets, weapons the U.S. would be deploying, and attack sequencing.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
You know, he can say that it wasn't a war plan, but it was a minute-by-minute accounting of what was about to happen.
The only person to reply to the update from Hegseth was the person identified as the vice president. I will say a prayer for victory, Vance wrote. How do you find yourself in this situation and not at any point drop a goatsy in the chat?
I don't know. I've definitely done that to some questionable group chats.
Yeah.
I have
This is what goatsy's for.
I have a very rare JD Vance in my collection, and it's JD Vance doing the goatsy. And I have, when a group chat has sent me too many JD Vance memes a couple weeks back, I put a stop to things. I sent that one out.
Wow.
So
that's the nuke.
No, that one's just for me. So, anyways, yes, it is very funny that JD Vance essentially replied with prayer hands emoji, and then no one else said anything else. Cool. Goldberg finally got his confirmation that the group chat was in fact real when he searched for Yemen on Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, when the strikes were scheduled to take place. And there you go. No shortage of proof that the U.S. attacked Yemen's capital city, and shortly after that, it became international news. So there you go. Boom, on the headlines, Trump ordered the airstrikes, and this guy finally realizes that, yeah, he's been sitting on a very top secret meeting.
That's when you drop the goatsy. Do it.
I mean, he basically,
what a waste.
Because when he left the chat, when you leave the chat, it says so-and-so left the chat, which in any realistic scenario, you would assume would have caused panic within that group of people.
Yeah, but you got to drop the goatsy and then leave the chat.
And it's the JD Vance one, too. Their conversation picks back up after the airstrikes, with Michael Waltz saying some classified shit and then adding, amazing job. CIA Director John Ratcliffe responded, a good start. And Waltz added some cool fist bump, American flag emojis. Yeah, typical stuff.
Hoorah!
Once again, from their reporting, the Signal chat group, I concluded, was almost certainly real. Having come to this realization, one that seemed nearly impossible only hours before, I removed myself from the Signal group, understanding that this would trigger an automatic notification to the group's creator, Michael Waltz, that I had left. No one in the chat had seemed to notice that I was there, and I received no subsequent questions about why I left, or, more to the point, who I was.
He emailed a few of the more prominent names from the chat and asked some really obvious questions like, why was he included in this? And why did no one realize that someone else was just sitting back and monitoring everything, then mysteriously leaving without saying a word?
Hey, what was up with that guy?
Hey, any comment on that?
Yeah, you know how we've been talking at length about airstrikes in Yemen? And then some dude was just in here and left?
It was me.
Yeah.
He did hear back from the National Security Council, who confirmed the group chat was real and that they were reviewing how this happened. National security lawyers quoted by the outlet indicate that the existence of the group chat alone is probably illegal, and the fact that Waltz allegedly had the messages set to delete after a set time, that would also violate federal records laws.
Yeah, that's another big one. There are things in place for these kinds of conversations, whether you want to agree with what conversations are or not. Intentionally setting an auto delete function to war plans.
Hey, at least it wasn't Twitter DMs.
Well, then they wouldn't need to leak anything. Elon Musk could just, anyone that works there can just look it up.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah.
I mean, look, it's the Trump administration, so when has laws about record keeping
or laws about anything
stop them from doing whatever the fuck they want? Mm-hmm. Still, this is an absolutely outrageous national security issue caused by someone being completely careless. How the hell is any country supposed to trust us with anything when our own bumbling morons are planning military actions where lots of human beings will die, the same way that other people plan fantasy football drafts?
It should piss people off. It's insane. And obviously officials were livid about this. Oh, sorry, Democrats were upset. Republican response was basically, oh, come on.
Boys will be boys.
Will be boys. We all make mistakes. He's
Come
just a 51-year-old little boy. He's harmless.
Whom among us? Whomst?
Michael Waltz is just a 51-year-old little boy.
Leave Michael Waltz alone.
Don't you see? Don't yell at him yet. He hasn't finished his wowie pop.
Who you should really be mad at is Europe.
And Joe Biden.
Those freeloaders over in Europe.
Hold on, I've got to leave. And he twists his little hat propeller and flies away.
Yeah.
I'm just a harmless little 51-year-old
He
boy.
gets about a foot off the ground, but he's too plump. They can't get the lift.
And so what if we did? So what if we accidentally did invite a journalist? Can't this just be a learning moment? Can't it just be? Here's Axios with some of the Democrat responses, and then we'll get to House Speaker Mike Johnson, who's just giving everyone a pass. I mean, boys will be boys. Boys and Tulsi Gabbard will be boys. This is an outrageous national security breach, and heads should roll. Representative Chris DeLuzio,
He's calling for violence.
Democrat of Pennsylvania, a member of the Armed Services Committee, said in a statement to Axios, we need a full investigation and hearing into this on the House Armed Services Committee, ASAP. We can't chalk this up to a simple mistake. People should be fired for this, said Representative Sarah Jacobs, Democrat of California, another Armed Services Committee member. Senator Mark Warner, Democrat of Virginia, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, posted on X, this administration is playing fast and loose with our nation's most classified information, and it makes all Americans less safe. Representative Jim Hines, Democrat of Connecticut, Warner's counterpart on the House Intelligence Committee, said, if a lower-ranking official under their command did what is described here, they would likely lose their clearance and be subject to criminal investigation.
Yeah, I mean, like, how is this any different than that dude who is going on Discord, like, showing classified documents to teenagers?
Yeah. It's not really when it comes down to it, but also, like, yeah, at the very least, losing your security clearance.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, House Speaker Mike Johnson, he promised it's never going to happen again. So,
again, we learned from this, and we will use it going forward.
Quote, clearly, I think the White House has acknowledged it's a mistake, Johnson told reporters Tuesday, adding that he expected that it will tighten up and make sure it doesn't happen again. Johnson said the text showed Trump officials executing their jobs with precision. He added, they're going to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Inviting the journalists, we're going to make sure that we don't invite journalists to the...
We will be bombing a lot of people.
And coordinating any group chats.
We will be going on Signal and deleting all the messages.
Because despite all of the hand-wringing about working from home, we prefer to never go through the effort of finding, securing, and getting inside of and discussing inside of a secure...
Too hard.
No.
So it's hard to overstate just how insane this leak is and how in any other administration throughout history, something similar would have been handled with immediate investigations and questioning before Congress. But hey, we're not even sure that's going to happen.
Yeah, Adam
Just
Schiff.
put it on the
Did
pile.
you see Adam Schiff's post where he's talking about everything that happened and he goes, we need answers. And everyone just replies,
Sir, you are a congressman.
You're
a senator now.
Someone should ask a senator to investigate this.
That's the most annoying of all the modern day Democrat ticks is just being, someone should do something about this.
Yeah. No, that's our job to say that. We're not elected. You are.
Yeah. You are elected specifically to
do this.
things.
Yeah.
Anyway, everything's just out in the open now, and if the Trump administration's doing it, whether it's committing human rights violations, rolling back environmental protections, dismantling our public education, or simply planning airstrikes in an unvetted group chat, it's all apparently fine because it's Trump, and Republicans are legitimately afraid to stand up to him, even if they wanted to, which they don't.
No.
Not yet.
Not until all of their children's retirement accounts are drained by the stock
until it
market.
very seriously directly affects them, and even then, it's going to be a little tricky.
Yeah. So the internet's response was general shock at first, obviously, and then everyone, of course, started brutally mocking the entire ordeal and everyone involved, making comparisons to average people's group chats and editing the text to offer J.D. Vance some sweet promo codes that you'd see in spam texts. Like, we can't let Europe not pay for this. Text Europe to this number for a discount. So yes, my personal favorite, which lightened the mood on this otherwise very infuriating news story, was this one from Dan Mentos, who said, wow, they're just like us, above an image of the chat, which read, good job, Pete and your team. The team in MAL did a great job as well. Great work, all. Powerful Shart. This motherfucker said Powerful Shart, LMAO. Michael Waltz has changed the group name to Powerful Shart. But while this news was breaking, Trump was focused on something far more important, of course. He was very concerned on Monday morning about a portrait of himself that was hung in the Colorado state capitol that he claims was intentionally distorted. And honestly, I mean, look at this thing. To me, this looks pretty damn accurate.
Yeah, that is what he looks like.
It looks just like him. I mean, has he seen a mirror?
He's so used to seeing everything through the Chad filter.
Yeah.
Like, the real life is shocking to him.
And this is how I look? Yes, I do like the chin.
This is how you look, sir.
And then he sees this and he's like, oh, I'm kind of fat. Oh, no. But yeah, I guess, so it was a portrait that was done based off of his first term. So he was fatter back then.
It's been sitting in the Colorado Capitol now for a while, I think.
And now I guess he wants a new one now that he's got the hot new
Well,
bod.
who's going to pay for it? Mexico?
That's right.
A painting of Donald Trump hanging with other presidential portraits at the Colorado State Capitol will be taken down after Trump claimed that his was purposefully distorted, according to a letter obtained by the Associated Press. House Democrats said in a statement that the oil painting would be taken down at the request of Republican leaders in the legislature.
Sure, yeah, we'll get rid of the portrait of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I was getting sick of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado Republicans raised more than $10,000 through a GoFundMe account to commission the oil painting, which was unveiled in 2019. Senate Minority Leader Paul Lundeen, a Republican, said that he requested for Trump's portrait to be taken down and replaced by one that depicts his contemporary likeness. If the GOP wants to spend time and money on which portrait of Trump hangs in the Capitol, then that's up to them, the Democrats said. The portrait was installed alongside other paintings of U.S. presidents. Before the installation, a prankster placed a picture of Russian President Vladimir Putin near the spot intended for Trump. Initially, people objected to artist Sarah Boardman's depiction of Trump as non-confrontational and thoughtful in the portrait, according to an interview with Colorado Times recorder from the time.
Yeah, that's what's even worse about this is like it was controversial for not making him seem mean enough.
Yeah, he's supposed to be badass, and he just kind of looks like a chubby old man.
Well, and from the Democrat side, it doesn't encapsulate the evil that he portrayed in real life. So he just looks fun, like a happy, thoughtful guy.
Yeah, like a big fat party animal.
But in a Sunday night post on his Truth Social platform, Trump said he would prefer no picture at all over the one that hangs in the Colorado Capitol.
Oh, yeah, he's gonna give himself the Mohammed treatment.
Yeah.
You shall make no likenesses of President Trump, because it actually takes away. Now you're worshiping idols. You should be worshiping Trump himself as he exists in your mind.
Well, Trump lauded a nearby portrait of former President Barack Obama, also by Boardman, saying, "He looks wonderful." Nobody likes a bad picture or painting of themselves, but the one in Colorado in the state capitol, put up by the governor, along with all other presidents, was purposefully distorted to a level that even I, perhaps, have never seen before.
Never.
Come on. Trump's Sunday night comments had prompted a steady stream of visitors to pose for photos with the painting before the announcement that it would be taken down. Aaron Ho, visiting from Wyoming on Monday, stood in front of Trump's portrait looking down at photos of the president on his phone, then back up at the portrait. "Honestly, he looks a little chubby," said Ho of the portrait, "but better than I could do."
Yeah, painting's hard, guys.
Kaylee Williamson, an 18-year-old Trump supporter from Arkansas, got a photo with the portrait. Quote, "I think it looks like him. I guess he's smoother than all the other ones," she said. "I think it's fine.
So yeah, a lot of
He's our smooth president."
different opinions. Yeah, big smooth president.
It depicted exactly like he looks. Big and smooth.
Anyway,
Ugh.
let's take a beat now and let you know that this episode is sponsored by Turtle Beach.
Yeah.
Tidal Beach. Remember the feeling of booting up your favorite game for the first time, the late night sessions, the epic wins, the sound of the lobby filling up with friends? Gaming wasn't just something you did, it was a whole experience, and the right headset made all the difference. Turtle Beach is bringing that feeling back with the Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset. It's like stepping into the golden age of gaming all over again, only this time the audio's richer, the surround sound's more immersive, and the battery lasts an insane 80 hours. No more crackly mics, no more missed callouts, just pure, uninterrupted gaming exactly the way you remember it, but better. For a limited time only, get 10% off your entire order with code TODAYDAILY at turtlebeach.com. Don't miss out. Stay warm and level up your game with 10% off at turtlebeach.com using promo code TODAYDAILY.
We've both been rocking this headset for a while now, and not only is it super comfortable, and not only does the sound quality definitely give you an edge, the battery life is insane. It is very nice having a wireless headset that you almost never have to think about charging. I've been putting in the hours on Path of Exile 2. I'm having a great time. What a game.
Why don't you just pay someone in China to do it for you?
Because I'm a real gamer, damn it. Anyways, it's been great with the headset. We all have that one friend whose headset always seems to die right when you're down to the last two teams. But Turtle Beach's Stealth 700 headset has an insane 80-hour battery life with quick charge, so you rarely have to think about charging it. And the Stealth 700 has the industry's first ever cross-play dual wireless transmitter system. That means you can seamlessly switch between your consoles and PC with just a click of a button. And it gets even better. While being connected to your console, the Stealth 700 can connect with your phone for music streaming or taking calls at the same time. Listen to your favorite songs while gaming? All done with the Stealth 700.
Turtle Beach doesn't just have amazing headsets. They have every gaming accessory you could ever want, and they're all high quality at prices that don't break the bank. From flight and racing simulators to controllers, keyboards, and mice, Turtle Beach is the ultimate gaming cheat code. Head to turtlebeach.com and use code TODAYDAILY for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code TODAYDAILY. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today.
Back into the news now, though, because doing war plans in the group chat isn't the only outrageous story out of this administration the past weekend, because Trump, he's putting together a team.
Oh, no.
He's putting together a team, and that team will fight the greatest supervillains of all. People protesting Elon Musk's very stupid, very dumb car.
They're terrorists.
Yeah, not only is every American about this fucking close to being forced to buy a Tesla, now if you say anything negative about them or participate in a protest, you could end up on an FBI watch list.
Yeah,
We're definitely already on that.
I would assume.
So here's one more for the road. Fuck Elon Musk and his stupid car company. We hated him long before he bought an election, and you can go freely watch us make fun of the Cybertruck for looking like a total piece of shit all the way back when it was first unveiled.
Yeah.
He's a pathetic loser, he's insecure, and he desperately wants to be loved and respected, while also doing ketamine and taking a chainsaw to government agencies, many of whom have previous or open investigations into him and his companies. Now, obviously, no one should damage someone else's property, and we've always maintained that a nice thumbs down is plenty for most of those drivers.
Yeah, you want to make them feel ashamed. You want to make them have to deal with that car.
Yeah. But there's always going to be cranks and instigators, and there's definitely been a few people who have taken things very far. And while this FBI task force is apparently focused on a few specific incidents, we're sure that they didn't put that group together just for the hell of it. And it's a great excuse for them to investigate pretty much anyone they want that has ever participated in a protest or will in the future.
How convenient.
Yeah, here's CNBC with more.
The FBI said on Monday that it has launched a task force to investigate scores of attacks in recent weeks targeting Tesla, the electric vehicle company headed by Trump administration DOGE chief Elon Musk. The announcement of the task force, which is operating in conjunction with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Wait, they changed it to ATFE?
They got the explosives
Is that
now.
new? Came hours after a bomb squad found multiple incendiary devices at a Tesla showroom in Austin, Texas, the same city where the company has its headquarters. And listen, sorry, I think anyone's natural inclination here would be that with every car on the lot being an HD camera, and with many cameras around this very technologically advanced dealership, you would assume there'd be tons of video evidence from this and other crimes.
Yeah.
Not that these arsons and things aren't happening, but I don't know. It seems like one hell of an escalation for people to go planting incendiary devices around a dealership.
Yeah.
Let me see it.
Yeah, it's there's video of like the Tesla things on fire, and it's like, yeah, I believe that someone did that.
Yeah.
But you would assume that like Tesla publicly has said that they can't access other people's Teslas, but these are all Teslas on their own lot that you would assume they own and could have access to all of the cameras throughout the entire lot, including the security cameras that are definitely around the entire place.
It would be so convenient for this car company that right now has a whole lot of inventory they would like to cycle out to maybe find a way to do that.
I mean, that would be an implication to do that, yeah. Now, regardless, the goal here is almost certainly to produce a cooling effect on the very well-organized and peaceful protests taking place at Tesla dealerships around the country. From that CNBC article,
a spokesperson for Tesla Takedown in an email told CNBC, the U.S. government has a long history of conflating peaceful protests with violence. The Tesla Takedown movement has been and always will be nonviolent, the spokesperson said. They want to scare us away from protesting Musk's destruction, but standing up for free speech is essential to democracy. We will not be deterred. We don't support violence against Tesla, the spokesperson said. Ironically, the only violence that occurred at a Tesla protest this past weekend was instigated by a Trump supporter who drove his car up onto the sidewalk and just drove it into protesters. Luckily, he apparently wasn't going very fast, and people just moved out of the way or were otherwise uninjured. But damn, kind of sounds like an unhinged psycho attempted to commit a politically motivated attack that you would assume falls under the definition of domestic terrorism, or at the very least, attempted murder.
I think he did get charged with that. But yes, when they're talking about like people protesting Tesla, and I know they're using extreme examples, but then you see a MAGA guy drive his car onto the curb at protesters.
Yeah, that seems like if we're lowering the threshold for what constitutes terrorism,
Yeah, it
I
seems
feel like
fall
this
under it.
would meet the threshold.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's ABC News.
A Florida man was arrested after driving a car into a group of protesters at a Tesla dealership, according to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. The suspect, 44-year-old Andrew Doodle, drove his vehicle, jumping the curb onto the sidewalk at a slow rate of speed into a crowd of protesters on Saturday, police said in a statement. Police received numerous calls regarding a black Nissan SUV driving up on a curb in front of the Tesla dealership, almost striking multiple pedestrians, according to police. The protesters moved out of the way to avoid being struck by Doodle's vehicle, police said. Karen Holland, who was participating in the peaceful protest, told police that Doodle's vehicle drove by earlier in the day and was yelling at all the protesters, officials said.
You don't even have a Tesla.
Yeah, he's driving around in a Nissan. This fucking... I love America.
This is not your fight.
When Doodle returned and started driving up on the curb towards protesters, Holland said she was in fear for her life and believed she was going to get struck by the vehicle, police said. Doodle was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill, police said. So not attempted murder, but aggravated assault?
That's fucking ridiculous. And
I gotta see how slow this thing was going.
And this is Florida too. Like if someone there had decided to brandish a weapon and use it to defend themselves, there's a ton of legal precedent in the state of Florida that would have said they would be totally fine to do that.
Yeah, very recent legal precedent that says you can apparently just mow down protesters if you feel threatened.
Well,
It's fucking crazy.
I was saying the protesters could have defended themselves using the George.
Oh, yeah, no. That would be an interesting court case because Florida has those two,
Yeah, the
stand your ground and the let's run over protesters law.
Yeah. Let's put them head to head, I guess. So anyway, in their reporting, the Daily Beast added that Doodle reportedly claimed at the scene that he worked at the dealership in question, but is in fact thought to be an Army engineer and former Iraq war vet who has written about his love of Donald Trump. He doesn't drive a Tesla, doesn't work there.
No. You don't even go here.
He seems bored. He arrived at the scene at around 1 p.m. to find around 150 people gathered to protest Tesla CEO Elon Musk's cost-cutting measures with the so-called Department of Government Efficiency. But,
I mean, it's just like, this guy, he clearly he's just like, oh, I know where a bunch of libs are going to be.
yeah, and also, I mean, the fact that he had to get up on the sidewalk indicates to me that this protest didn't even spill out into the street, that's apparently, you do that, then you've essentially signed your own death warrant.
That's the Florida thing. But they are, according to the spokespeople and organizers, intentionally doing everything by the books.
They're up on
as
the
legally as possible because they know that one wrong move and they could face arrest because of how heightened everything is. So they're doing everything by the books. This guy drives onto the sidewalk after circling and threatening.
But hey, for fuck's sake, enough about these assholes, enough Elon, enough Donnie. We'll get back to them on the next episode. But for now, this next story is about that director who embezzled tens of millions of dollars from Netflix, gambled a bunch of it on crypto, and then allegedly went insane. Now, we covered this months ago, but it was a wild story, and spoiler alert, the show he was supposedly making obviously never got made, and now director Carl Rinch has been arrested and federally charged with fraud.
Now, it's almost worth it to go back over some of the quotes from 2023 about how this all went down. So, fuck it. Here's the New York Times with the original reporting. Soon after he signed the contract, Mr. Rinch's behavior grew erratic, according to members of the show's cast and crew, in texts and emails reviewed by the New York Times and court filings in a divorce case brought by his wife. He claimed to have discovered COVID-19's secret transmission mechanism and to be able to predict lightning strikes. He gambled a large chunk of the money from Netflix on the stock market and cryptocurrencies. He spent millions of dollars on a fleet of Rolls Royces, furniture, and designer clothing.
How many Rolls Royces do you need?
Too many. It continues. When Miss Rosez, his ex-wife, went to check on him in June 2020, he took her to a scenic lookout in the Hollywood Hills and pointed at planes overhead. They were organic, intelligent forces that came to say hi, he told her, according to Miss Rosez's filing in the divorce case. He also sent her texts claiming that he could predict lightning strikes and volcanic eruptions. At Netflix, Ms. Holland, too, was witnessing some of Mr. Wrench's behavior. He was sending her text messages, which the Times reviewed, containing bizarre doodles with incomprehensible annotations.
Okay, so the guy lost his damn mind.
Yeah, seems to be that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about his Dogecoin purchases and how he actually did make some money off those investments. Might have even made a dent in the debt that he was quickly piling up, but he instead went out and spent the money on 5 Rolls Royces, also a Ferrari, a $387,630 Vacheron Constantine watch. That's ridiculous. And millions of dollars worth of high-end furniture and designer clothing. The tab came to $8.7 million, according to a forensic accountant hired by his wife. Okay.
Oh.
So yeah, that guy was previously in court attempting to explain how all of these lavish purchases were actually props for his show.
You know,
The show that was never produced.
With all this, you got to give the guy credit. With all the AI stuff that's going around in the world, with all the generative content,
He's practical.
He wanted to go do the real thing. So he said, we're probably gonna, scuff up this Rolls Royce, and
We're gonna need 5.
We're gonna need 5. I mean, look, just look up some information from Dukes of Hazzard. They had a new General Lee every episode.
You can't just have one.
No, and by the way, this watch gets me into important meetings. You're gonna want that.
Yeah,
Very-
that's the key.
This is the guy that made 47 Ronin, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So he has now been arrested and federally charged. Here's NPR with more. Hollywood filmmaker Carl Eric Rinch has been charged with defrauding Netflix to the tune of $11 million. He had been working on a TV series for the streamer that was never completed. Instead, according to prosecutors, the 47-year-old director spent the streamer's funds to speculate on cryptocurrency, stay in high-end hotels and rentals, and buy luxury cars.
Police in West Hollywood arrested him this week. The FBI's New York field office and the acting U.S. attorney of the Southern District of New York indicted Rinch on charges of wire fraud, money laundering, and unlawful monetary transactions. Those charges could land him in prison for decades. Even after losing money on the stock market, Rinch told Netflix that his series was awesome and moving forward really well.
You're going to love it.
According to the indictment. Though Rinch claimed that the streamer owed him money after Netflix canceled the show, an arbitrator ruled in Netflix's favor last year, requiring the director to pay the company $11.8 million. According to the Associated Press, Rinch appeared in federal court in Los Angeles with shackles on his arms and legs and agreed to post a $100,000 bond. And look, here's the thing. Netflix is just going to fucking win no matter what, because they're just going to make their own true crime documentary.
The Netflix scammer. Boom.
It's done. They're going to make
and that's
more
gonna
money.
Be cheaper to make than whatever fucking shit this guy was going to make.
The $11 million that he owed them or whatever, even the original budget for the show at like $50 million, peanuts compared to what they're going to get out of this.
They're going to make this for $50,000.
Get that man a Purple Heart.
All anyone watches on Netflix anymore is true crime documentaries.
Yeah.
It's all they do.
Even if it's the same topic over and over again.
Yep.
Hey, look, a new OJ documentary.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So this is going to end up making them far more money. Sir, you're free to go. And
maybe they did it on purpose. Maybe Netflix is intentionally giving extremely untrustworthy people money to make a show, knowing that they're going to blow the money. Mm-hmm. Just so they then have the rights automatically to tell that story later.
Yeah, Ted Sarandos he's going around downtown LA finding compromisable people and giving them lots of money.
Hey, you look like a guy I could give $11 million to.
Be really interesting if I did, wouldn't it be?
All you have to do is make a TV show and give it to us.
Yeah.
And not spend the money on
whatever you do. Don't
stuff.
spend the money on anything else. But yeah, fuck Netflix, obviously.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that he ripped them off. And also, it is sad that he's going to go to jail and they're going to make a ton of money off of this. But regardless, the money that he wasted, that he embezzled, that could have been used on just a ton of smaller productions that would have employed lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
So, also, fuck this guy.
It's like 10 A24 movies.
Yeah. But yeah, cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Don't give a guy a budget of $50 million and then have a pandemic happen and then have the guy lose his mind. And then when he makes the money back, be like, all right, well, certainly he's not going to waste it again. And then he buys a bunch of
I'm
cars.
curious if he was always a little bit goofy or if, like many Americans, the pandemic just was the final push he needed to really lose it.
Many such cases.
Many
such cases. Anyways, that's the end of today's video. We will be back for more, of course, very soon. But in the meantime, in case you missed it, we got a Weekly Weird News where we finally figured out how JFK died. He took the fattest rip off of a vape, and the vape not only killed itself, it blew up in his face.
Yeah.
like a Tex Avery cartoon.
That's what happened.
So watch that video, watch our others. If you're feeling frisky, click the thank button. I saw a couple people do it on the last video. I was like, damn!
Wow.
Big spenders!
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, watch our other videos. They're popping up right now. And leave a comment below. But make sure you like the video. That's free. It helps everybody out.
It's the most important one.
Do that, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.